A human boy saved an alien girl when he was just 16. She told him to return when he was older. 10 years later, he kept that promise and uncovered a secret that could change the fate of 2 worlds. Stay with us till the end. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you believe humans always find a way. Asterisk, asterisk, the sky over the mining colony of Alara 7 burned red. Smoke rose from the outskirts, curling into strange shapes as the air trembled with distant explosions. 16-year-old Kale Ronan crouched behind a broken transport pod, his heart pounding so hard he could hear it in his ears. The invasion had come without warning, strange ships tearing through the clouds, landing in the dust like falling stars. He should have been running home. He should have been hiding with the other colonists. But Kale's path had crossed something far more dangerous and far more beautiful. She stood only a few meters away, half hidden in the flickering shadows of a collapsed wall. Her skin was a deep, radiant orange, traced with delicate golden markings that seemed to glow faintly even in the dust and smoke. Her long white hair spilled over her shoulders like liquid light, swaying with the wind. She was unlike any alien he had ever seen in the HoloLessons. Taller than him, with eyes so sharp and bright, they made him forget for a moment that bombs were still falling. She was chained, heavy black cuffs locking her wrists together, a control collar at her neck. 2 enemy soldiers guarded her, weapons raised, their insect-like armor reflecting the fire around them. Kale knew the smart thing was to stay hidden. But something about her, the calm in her gaze, the way she didn't look afraid, pulled him forward before he could stop himself. He waited for the nearest explosion to cover his movement, then darted out. His boots crunched over broken stone. 1 soldier turned, antenna twitching. Kale didn't think. He just swung the piece of metal in his hands. Knocking the guard's weapon away, the alien woman moved faster than he could blink. With 1 sharp twist, she kicked the other guard's leg out from under him, sending him crashing to the ground. In the chaos, Kale found the release switch on her collar and slammed it. The cuff sprang open. She stood free for the first time, straightening to her full height, eyes locking on him. "You are human," she said, her voice low but strangely melodic. "And very young." "I'm 16, Kale said, breathless. "That's not." Before he could finish, a deep rumble shook the ground. The shadows of enemy ships swept over them. She glanced toward the sky, then back to him. "This is not your fight, boy. Go home." "I'm not leaving you here," he shot back. Something flickered in her expression, a mix of amusement and disbelief. Brave words. But bravery and survival are not the same. A blaster bolt sizzled past his shoulder, hitting the wall behind them. She stepped closer, close enough that he could see the faint scars along her jaw. "You saved me," she said softly, as if testing the words. "And that is a debt, but debts must be paid at the right time." "What does that mean?" Kale asked. Her gaze held his, unblinking. "It means return when you are older, human, stronger. Then I will tell you what you truly saved, and why it matters." Before he could respond, she grabbed his arm and pulled him into the cover of a ruined walkway. He heard the hum of her stolen blaster charging. "Now run," she ordered. "And remember, I will know if you keep your promise." Kale wanted to argue, but the sky tore open with another wave of enemy fire. She darted into the smoke, her figure swallowed by the chaos, leaving him with nothing but the echo of her words. When the colony guards found him hours later, Kale barely spoke. He didn't tell them about the alien girl. He didn't tell them about her golden eyes or the strange pull in his chest when she looked at him. But in his mind, the promise burned. And deep down, he knew, one day, no matter how far he had to travel, he would return. 10 years had passed since the war on Alara 7. The colony had been rebuilt. Trade ships moved through its skies again, and the memory of fire and smoke had become little more than a whisper in history books. But for Cale Ronan, the memory of one moment refused to fade, the moment an alien girl with orange skin and golden eyes told him to return when he was older. Now 26, Cale was no longer the skinny boy hiding behind broken walls. He was a soldier, hardened by battles, across distant frontiers, carrying the weight of scars both seen and unseen. His armor fit better, his hands no longer shook when holding a rifle, but inside, the same promise burned. He had saved her life once, and she had told him to come back. When his ship touched down on Alara 7 again, the colony looked peaceful. Children ran through the streets, markets hummed with voices, and the air smelled of iron and spice. Yet Cale knew better than to trust appearances. Peace always hid shadows. He wandered toward the ruins on the colony's edge, the same ruins where he had first seen her. The walls were still there, though worn smooth by time and wind. For a moment, doubt filled him. Had she meant what she said, or had it been nothing more than a way to push a foolish boy out of danger? Then he felt it, a presence, strong and steady, watching him. He turned, and there she was. She hadn't changed as much as he expected. Her white hair flowed as it always had, her golden markings glowing faintly in the afternoon light. But her eyes carried weight, the kind that comes from leading and losing. She was no longer a prisoner. She stood tall, wearing armor of her own, a blade strapped across her back. "You came," she said simply, as if the decade between them was nothing. Cale nodded, unable to stop the faint smile tugging at his lips. "I said I would." Her gaze softened for a moment, before the steel returned. "And you are older now, stronger, good, because what I have to show you is not for children." Without another word, she turned and began walking toward the mountains. Beyond the colony, Cale followed, his mind buzzing with questions. Where had she been all these years? Why had she told him to return? And what secret was so dangerous it needed to wait until now? They walked in silence until the ground shifted beneath them, revealing stone carved with strange symbols. She knelt, pressing her hand against the markings. They pulsed with light, responding to her touch. "This," she whispered, her voice low with reverence, "is what you saved that day. Not only me you saved. A lineage, you saved a key." The stone split open, revealing a staircase leading deep underground. A rush of cold air swept over them. Cale's skin prickled. He knew instinctively that whatever lay beneath was not meant for ordinary eyes. She glanced at him, her expression unreadable. "You asked what your bravery meant. Now human, you will learn, but be warned, once you see, you cannot turn away." Cale's heart pounded, just as it had the first time he saw her. But this time, he didn't hesitate. He followed her into the darkness below, and as the stone sealed shut above them, he realized this was no simple meeting. This was the beginning of something far larger than he had ever imagined. The staircase twisted downward for what felt like forever. Cale's boots echoed against the stone, the sound swallowed quickly by the cold air. Strange symbols glowed faintly along the walls, shifting as if alive. He wanted to ask questions, but the alien woman walked ahead in silence, her white hair catching the faint light like threads of silver fire. At last, the passage widened into a chamber. Cale froze. The room was alive. Giant pillars hummed with energy, their surfaces carved with flowing golden lines that pulsed like veins. At the center stood a crystalline structure shaped like a cocoon, suspended above the ground by beams of light. Within the crystal, Cale could just make out the silhouette of something, or someone. His throat went dry. "What is that?" The alien woman turned, her gaze steady. "The reason my people came to your colony, the reason I was captured, and the reason I told you to return." Cale stepped closer, his chest tight. The figure inside the crystal was humanoid, but not fully alien. Its outline was too familiar. Shoulders, hands, even the slope of its jaw. "It looks human," he whispered. She nodded slowly. "That is because it is. Or, it was long. Before your kind knew the stars, my people touched your world. A union was made, forbidden, hidden. This one is the child of that union. A bridge between human and my kind. A bridge we feared, and yet needed." Her voice grew softer, almost pained. "The warlords who chained me wanted this cocoon. They wanted the bloodline preserved inside. A weapon that could unite or destroy both our species. You saving me that day meant saving this secret." Cale stared at the crystal, his thoughts colliding. "And now, why bring me here?" "Because the cocoon is waking," she said, her golden eyes narrowing. "And when it opens, this child will need a guide. A protector. Someone who is not just soldier, but human enough to teach compassion and stubborn enough to defy empires." Cale's heart raced. "You mean me?" She stepped closer, placing a hand against his chest. The touch was warm, grounding. "I mean the boy who risked his life for a stranger. The boy who grew into a man and returned, even when he did not have to. That is why I told you to come back." Before he could answer, the cocoon shuddered. Light flared across the chamber, blinding and pure. The silhouette inside shifted, stretching, almost reaching outward. The alien woman's voice grew tense. "It begins. We do not have much time." Cale raised his weapon instinctively. Time for what? The ground trembled with a distant roar. Dust rained from the ceiling. Faint but growing, the sound of metal footsteps echoed from the staircase. They had descended. She drew her blade, its edge glowing like molten steel. "Time," she said grimly, "to fight for what you once saved and for what the galaxy is not ready to accept." Cale tightened his grip, his pulse quickening. 10 years ago, he had stumbled into a war he didn't understand. Now he realized. He was standing at the heart of something far greater. And as the cocoon cracked open with a sound like shattering glass, he understood one thing with certainty. The real war was only just beginning. The chamber shook as the cocoon split apart. Cracks of glowing white light spread across its surface, until it burst with a sound like thunder. Shards of crystal hovered in the air for a moment, before dissolving into dust. Cale shielded his eyes, then lowered his arms slowly. At the center of the chamber, a figure now stood where the cocoon had been. Small, fragile-looking, yet surrounded by a strange aura that bent the air itself. The being looked no older than 12, with smooth amber skin that shimmered faintly, and hair that carried both shades of silver and dark brown. Half alien, half human. Its eyes opened, glowing bright gold at first, then softening into something almost childlike. The alien woman knelt before the child, bowing her head. At last, the heir of 2 worlds. Cale swallowed hard, his voice low. "He's just a kid." The child tilted its head, studying him with unblinking curiosity. "No," it said softly, its voice layered with an echo that didn't belong to someone so young. "I am more." Before Cale could respond, the metallic stomp of boots filled the chamber. Soldiers poured in from the stairway above, armored in black, their weapons glowing with lethal charge. Their leader, a towering figure with a jagged crest of bone across his helmet, pointed his blade forward. "Seize the hybrid." The leader roared. The alien woman stood, her blade igniting in a flash of molten light. "You will not touch him." Cale raised his rifle, adrenaline flooding through him. "Guess we're doing this the hard way." The chamber exploded into chaos. Bolts of energy screamed through the air, slamming into the pillars and walls. Cale rolled behind cover, returning fire with sharp, precise shots. 2 soldiers fell, their armor smoking. The woman moved like fire itself, her blade carving arcs of light that cut down any who came close. She fought with a fury Kale had never seen before, each strike filled with purpose. Yet the enemies kept coming, wave after wave, their numbers overwhelming. The child stood motionless at first, its eyes wide as if caught between fear and something greater. Then the air around it rippled. A low hum filled the chamber, rising until it became a roar. Kale froze as he saw it. The soldiers nearest to the child suddenly lifted from the ground, their weapons tearing from their hands as if pulled by invisible strings. They screamed as they were hurled against the walls, crumpling like broken toys. The alien woman's eyes widened. The awakening has already begun. The child's glow brightened, filling the chamber with golden light. I don't want to hurt them," it whispered, trembling. Kale's instincts screamed at him. He rushed forward, placing his hands on the child's shoulders, grounding it. "Listen to me. You're not a weapon. You're not what they want you to be. You're more than that." The glow flickered, dimming slightly. The child looked up at him, its eyes searching. "Then what am I?" Kale tightened his grip, meeting the gaze without fear. "You're alive, and that means you get to choose." The moment shattered as the enemy leader roared, charging straight at them with his blade raised. Kale turned, raising his rifle. But before he could fire, the alien woman intercepted, steel clashing against molten light. Sparks rained as they fought in a storm of speed and rage. Kale pulled the child close, shielding him. His heart pounded with a truth he could no longer deny. This wasn't just about saving one alien girl anymore. This was about saving something that could change the fate of two species. And as the battle raged in the Vault of Echoes, Kale understood one thing clearly. The choice this child made would decide whether there was peace or endless war. The clash of blades filled the chamber. Sparks lit the dark as the alien woman fought the enemy commander, their strikes ringing like thunder. Around them, soldiers pressed forward, only to be thrown back by sudden waves of golden light from the hybrid child. Kale kept one arm around the child, pulling him close. But he could feel the power pulsing under the boy's skin, wild, unstable, desperate to break free. The boy trembled. His voice cracked. "I can't stop it." Kale looked into his glowing eyes. "You can. Listen to me. You're not a weapon. You're not theirs. You decide who you are." But the boy's power surged again. The walls shook, cracks spreading through the stone. Energy whirled around them like a storm, pulling soldiers, debris, and even weapons into the air. One soldier screamed as his own rifle bent in half before slamming him into a pillar. The enemy commander laughed, even as he struggled against the alien woman's blade. "Yes, let it loose, hybrid. Show the galaxy what you truly are." The child's cry echoed, full of pain and fear. Golden energy burst outward, hurling Kale back against the wall. His rifle clattered to the ground. When he staggered up, he saw the child standing in the center of the storm, surrounded by a halo of golden fire. His body trembled, his face twisted with fear, yet his power grew stronger by the second. The alien woman shouted through the chaos. "Kale, if he loses control, this vault will collapse, and the world with it." Kale's heart hammered. He grabbed his weapon, but his hands shook. What was he supposed to do? Shoot a child? The very child he had promised to protect. He forced himself to move, stumbling through the storm until he reached the boy again. His voice cracked, raw and desperate. "Look at me. Look at my eyes. You're not alone. You don't have to fight this by yourself." For a heartbeat, the glow in the boy's eyes flickered. The storm wavered. Then the enemy commander bellowed. Again, his voice cutting through the chamber. "No, you belong to us. You were born to rule." The words hit like a spark in dry grass. The storm swelled again, more violent than before. Pillars cracked, the ceiling groaned. Kale's chest tightened. He knew what had to be done, and he hated it. He reached out, pressing his forehead against the boy's, speaking in a whisper only he could hear. If you destroy everything, you'll never know who you are. So if you need me to take the weight, I will." The boy's breath shook. "You'd end me, even after saving me?" Tears stung Cale's eyes. "I'd save you again, even from yourself." For a long second, the storm hung frozen, every soldier, every stone, every spark of light caught in silence. Then, slowly, the glow around the boy dimmed. The golden fire faded, the debris clattered to the ground. He collapsed against Cale's chest, sobbing quietly. The alien woman rushed to them, her blade dripping with sparks from her last strike. The enemy commander staggered back, bleeding but still alive, his expression twisted in rage. "You cannot protect him forever," the commander growled. "When he chooses, the galaxy will burn." He vanished into the shadows, retreating with the last of his soldiers. Cale held the boy tighter, his heart still pounding. He had stopped the storm this time. But the commander's words clawed at him, refusing to let go. Because Cale knew he was right about one thing. One day, the boy would have to choose. The chamber lay in ruins. Smoke drifted from shattered pillars, the air thick with dust and the fading echoes of battle. Cale sat against the wall, the boy curled against his side. Still trembling from the storm he had unleashed, the alien woman stood guard near the broken stairway, her blade glowing faintly as she scanned the shadows. Though the enemy commander had retreated, his promise still lingered like poison in the air. Cale looked down at the boy. His breathing had steadied, but his eyes glowed faintly gold, pulsing in rhythm with his heartbeat. He wasn't just a child. He was something more, something the galaxy wasn't ready for. The woman's voice broke the silence. "He will not stay hidden forever. One day, both our peoples will come for him. To claim him, to use him." Cale's jaw tightened. "Then, I'll stand in their way." She turned, her golden gaze softening for the first time. "You would protect him, even against your own kind?" Cale met her eyes. "I don't care if he's human or alien. He's a kid. He deserves the right to choose who he'll become." The boy stirred, lifting his head. His voice was small but steady. "You keep saying I get to choose, but what if I choose wrong?" Cale placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then you learn. That's what being human means. We make mistakes, we fall, but we get back up again. That's strength no empire can teach you." The boy blinked, his glow dimming, the storm inside him quieting. Then, slowly he nodded. For a moment, the chamber felt lighter, as if the weight of war had eased, if only slightly. But the woman stepped closer, her tone grave. "Cale, understand this. You are no longer just a soldier. You are bound to him now. His choice will shape not only his life, but the fate of two species." Cale stood, pulling the boy gently to his feet. His voice was firm, steady. "Then, I'll be there when he makes it." Above them, the ruined ceiling cracked, letting in a shaft of sunlight. The light fell across all three, human, alien, and hybrid, binding them in its glow. The boy looked at them both, his voice barely above a whisper. Maybe I don't have to choose between worlds. Maybe I can be both." The woman's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Perhaps that is the destiny we feared, and the hope we need." Cale felt the words settle deep in his chest. For years he had carried the promise of returning to her. Now he realized his true purpose had just begun, because the war wasn't over. The galaxy was watching. Enemies would come. Empires would rise against them. But in this ruined chamber, with the boy's small hand clutching his own, Cale knew one thing with absolute certainty. He wasn't fighting alone anymore, and whatever came next, humanity, alien, and hybrid would face it together.